Hello, my friends. Welcome to Monday. Welcome to Monday. Yep. I don't know why people are fussing about the title. What are you talking about? What's wrong? Is there something wrong with the title, guys? Let me know. What's going on? What's going on? I've been. What's wrong with the title, guys? I don't know what you're talking about. There's nothing wrong with the title. If there is, though, do let me know. Today, I'm Jen Dyes, by the way, in case you're new to us. So far, as is usual, we just Baron says I like the title. Go, Jen. I've been reading the news, studying the news all day long. But speaking of the title, this is something I really had to highlight. So we will definitely be doing a deep dive into the title. YouTube is hiding us. So smash that like button, share this stream. That is one way to kickstart the algorithm. YouTube, when trying to deal with YouTube, you have to think about, what's in their best interest. What do they want? And what they want is people on their site and a flurry of activity. So if they see you guys smashing the like button, potentially they'll actually show us to one or two people. Who knows? Stranger things have happened. Indeed, I see you guys are all wishing Jordan a happy birthday. It is indeed Jordan's 35th birthday today. So everybody definitely run over to Twitter. Well, actually, don't leave the stream, but open up a new tab and go to @Jordan and wish him the happiest of birthdays ever. He is taking a well-deserved day off, which he's actually pretty much stuck to. It's really hard to get him to take a day off, but I would say he's doing a pretty good job. I believe right now he's reading outside with his puppy. I don't know if Anat had to work today or not, but he told me his plans include, I don't know if there's a football game today. He said something about reading and farting. So that's Jordan for you. That's Jordan for you. It's kind of funny because one of the comments and people yelling at us online as happens was that Jordan has no sense of humor, which is so funny because Jordan's like the goofiest person that's ever existed. He's very goofy. So he definitely, I assure you, has a sense of humor. Oh, Paul says Monday Night Football. That makes sense. I actually, contrary to what it might seem, because I know nothing about sports, I grew up watching a lot of football, but it didn't stick. So here we are. I wonder if my pictures behind me are crooked. I don't think they're crooked, but they look crooked. I don't know. Just wasting time here until we get some more folks trickling in. Smash the like button, share this stream for sure. No, Jordan's not 40 yet. He's 35. He likes to make fun of me because I was born, my birthday is December 21st, 1984. And his, of course, is today. And he was born in 86. So he likes to make fun of me for being old. But I would like him to know that I was actually always like the youngest in my classes and my grades growing up because I started school a little bit early. Since my birthday's in December, technically I wasn't supposed to start school until the year later. So technically he's only like, I don't know. I can't really explain this away. I am in fact older, but I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win this battle of him calling me old. I only have a very short span of time between his birthday and mine, where I get to say, "Well, you're 35, I'm 36." That's not that much different. But anyway, I hope that he has a wonderful birthday. Sean Marshall says, now you have to babysit him. I mean, I do have to keep him in line. I do have to keep him in line. Yep. So we have so many topics to talk about today. I was preparing all of the links and sending them to Colin before the show. Shout out to Colin who produces in the background, and it's a lot. Like I left off at least 4 stories I wanted to do. There's so much happening in the news, so much that I feel is so important. Sean Marshall asked, did you get him anything? I sure did. I got him. I can't remember the exact title. So both of us read a lot and really enjoy deep dives into things. So I got him one book on Standing Rock. I got him the Chaos book, the 1960s Charles Manson CIA book. Highly recommend. I got him a Fred Hampton book. I got him, what's the 4th one? There's a 4th one. I got him 4 books. Last year I got him Larry David artwork because he's obsessed with Curb Your Enthusiasm. Speaking of Curb Your Enthusiasm, Colin, if you can pop up my tweet about Jordan's birthday, people can see that I used a Curb meme on there. Which he appreciates. Jordan's like actually just a younger version of Larry David. They're an exact personality match. So I said, everyone say happy birthday to Jordan, who in his 35 years has accomplished more good as a journalist than most could hope to in a lifetime. Truly a mensch and one of the best friends anyone could ask for. So there we go. Happy birthday to Jordan. Everyone tell him happy birthday. Either send him a message at info@statuscoup.com or head over to his Twitter and shoot him a message. We all like getting happy birthday messages, right? We all do. We all like that. Paul Evans says, I take it the 4th book was Michelle Obama's. No, it was not Michelle Obama's. Damn, what is that 4th book? That's gonna really bug me. I'll have to figure that out. Inquiring minds want to know. Man, I can't remember. Well, we have big news today. A lot of big news. A lot of pieces are moving in this country. It's really overwhelming, to put it mildly, because a lot of these things have huge consequences. We've been talking about the reconciliation bill. It seems at this point that progressives, and I use that term very loosely, that the Progressive Caucus in the House is going to hold firm. Hopefully. We also got an absolutely ridiculous so-called ruling from the parliamentarian yesterday, which I actually meant to send that one to Colin too. There's a really funny meme going around about how absurd it is to like bow down to the parliamentarian. It's just so crazy. An unelected person. But we'll definitely be talking more about that package. The date has been set as the 27th. That doesn't mean that decisions will be made, but that is the date that Pelosi's kind of put on the calendar for things to move forward. But in the meantime, they're still negotiating and working in the background. Barron says, I'm voting for the parliamentarian since they can get so much done. Yeah, easy, right? Wow, who knew being the parliamentarian could bring so much power? Michael Cooper says the parliamentarian is the new word for president. I mean, it must be. They're all running scared from this parliamentarian. They can be very easily overridden. It's just so insane. It's all a PR gag to kind of fool liberals, honestly, who believe, who won't read any further into what the parliamentarian's role actually is, and that this isn't a real blockade, not at all. So I could have set up the show to give some more hot takes on that, but that's my general gist. We'll talk more about it tomorrow, I'm sure, as we wait for more news to come in. But today I wanted to start off the show, and apparently some found my headline controversial. I really have no idea why. I don't think it's at all controversial. But you guys know Abby Martin, of course, and you guys know Mike Prysner, Abby's partner, and they're both with Empire Files. Both just simply badass, whether it's their journalism, their activism. Mike was a soldier. Mike, I believe he was 18. We're going to watch a clip where I believe he says his age, but Mike enlisted and he was there, you know, the very day that we invaded Iraq. And he now spends his days giving speeches and taking actions and reporting on the lies that got us into the Iraq war, that got us into Afghanistan, the profiteering and the realities on the ground there in Iraq and Afghanistan. And he, yeah, again, he's a true badass. But last night, took it to another level. I don't want to give too much away because it's really like best if you just watch it. But George W. Bush, as he does, is giving speeches. And right now he is in the LA area. And last night he was in Beverly Hills. So Mike paid him a little visit. Right during George W. Bush's speech, Mike had some important words to say. Colin, if you can go ahead and play that clip.
Dad used them, and he would have said, "Say you're smart people down here before I give you any advice." But it was awesome to have him alive. And Mother, of course, was around too. And she
Mr. Bush, when are you going to apologize for the million Iraqis that are dead because you lied? You lied about weapons of mass destruction. You lied about connections to 9/11. You lied about Iraq being a threat. You sent me to Iraq. You sent me to Iraq in 2003. My friends are dead. Joshua Castile. You killed people. You lied. You lied about WND. A million Iraqis are dead because you lied. My friends are dead because you lied. You need to apologize. Apologize. Apologize.
Are you with this gentleman?
No.
you know, one of the things I
Is she
don't
with this
miss
gentleman?
is
Did she come in with him or is she with you?
Colin, I'm going to have you play that again. This time I want everybody to listen, not only to Mike's words, but listen to what George W. Bush says to Mike during it. It's easy to miss, but listen closely.
I used them, my dad used them, and he would have said, "Say you're smart people down here before I give you any advice." But it was awesome to have him alive. And Mother, of course, was around too. And she had
Mr. Bush, when are you going to apologize for the million Iraqis that are dead because you lied? You lied about weapons of mass destruction. You lied about connections to 9/11. You lied about Iraq being a threat. You sent me to Iraq. You sent me to Iraq in 2003. My friends are dead. Joshua Castile. You killed people. You lied. You lied about WND. A million Iraqis are dead because you lied. My friends are dead because you lied. You need to apologize. Apologize. Apologize.
Are you with this gentleman?
No.
you know, one of the
So, what George Bush says to this Iraq war veteran is to sit down and behave himself. Colin, if you can pull up Mike's tweet that shows that, so folks can see really just something. So we can read, actually, Colin, we can start at the top of his thread. Where he says, almost 20 years after he sent me to Iraq, I disrupted George W. Bush's speech tonight. I tried to read a list of names, mostly of Iraqis killed, as well as my friends who became anti-war activists after Iraq and who then died of suicide or other war wounds. They ripped up my list. By the way, I contacted Mike, was going to be on today, and I'll explain why he wasn't able to make it today after all. Well, I can tell you right now. It's because they're doing another action today. There's a second speech being given today in a different location. So you can pull that back up, Colin. So, and I also, he emailed me the list of names that he was going to read, the one that they ripped up. So he tweeted, also on my list of names, the victims in the collateral murder video, shout out to Chelsea Manning, the Nisour Square massacre, as well as U.S. troops killed in Iraq whose parents then formed the powerful anti-war organization Gold Star Families for Peace. Bush should never know peace for the lives he destroyed. Then Mike realizes, because when you're there in the moment, in a moment like that, it's hard to know everything that's going on. So he says, okay, so apparently you can hear in the video, Bush tells me to sit down and behave yourself. Not exactly the apology I asked for. So definitely badass to Mike. I want to go ahead now and read his full speech, the press release that was put out, which includes the names. So if we can pull that up, and everybody do follow Mike on Twitter at Mike Prysner. That's at Mike Prysner. So here's what he says. Nearly 20 years ago, in July 2002, I sat behind then President George W. Bush as he gave a speech to my Army unit, the 10th Mountain Division. Less than a year later, I was in Iraq on Bush's orders as part of the U.S. invasion. Tonight, as Bush spoke at a so-called Distinguished Speaker Series event in Beverly Hills, with the cheapest tickets starting at over $500, I again watched from the crowd before confronting the event. Primarily, I demanded he apologize for the 1 million or more dead who are only dead because of his lies and his crimes. When George W. Bush took the nation to war in Iraq, he did so with the full knowledge that Iraq possessed none of the weapons of mass destruction he told the country he knew existed. He did so with full knowledge that Iraq posed no threat to the people of the United States, despite his assuring the country that it did. He did so with full knowledge that the Iraqi government had no connection to the September 11th attacks. But he sold the lie that such a connection could exist. Bush manufactured consent based on deliberate and malicious lies to convince the nation we must go to war. And when that war, which he promised would be quick, easy, and painless, blew up in the Pentagon's face, Bush did not end it. He stop-lossed the military and ordered the disastrous troop surge, which took death and destruction to new heights. In his own words, he said, "Bring them on," as casualty numbers skyrocketed. As for the non-existent weapons of mass destruction, Bush, instead of apologizing or admitting what he did, he instead performed a comedic skit for the 2004 Radio and Television Correspondents' Dinner, where he searched for the weapons in the Oval Office. Bush's litany of crimes, from his direct authorization of illegal torture to bombing of civilians in Afghanistan, the nightmare he brought to Iraq, should be considered the greatest atrocity of the modern era. Not only a flagrant violation of international law, what the Nuremberg trials deemed the greatest crime against humanity, the illegal invasion of a sovereign nation, but senselessly led to the death, displacement, and misery of millions upon millions of people. While the Iraqi people and every American touched by the war are still reeling and suffering from his decisions, Bush is enjoying a revival, selling books of his paintings and receiving lavish speaking fees for events like the one I attended tonight. When I saw Bush was speaking just a few miles from where I live, I felt I had no choice but to find a way to do what is right by those who perished at his command. I brought with me a list of Iraqi civilians who were killed by American forces, from the victims seen in the collateral murder video to the Nisour Square massacre. That list also included the names of U.S. soldiers, half of them soldiers killed in Iraq, whose family and friends then became anti-war leaders and founders of Gold Star Families for Peace. The other half Iraq War veterans who came home and joined the anti-war struggle before succumbing to their wounds, either from injuries in Iraq that killed them years later or who died by suicide from the scars of the war. Many of them were my friends. I did what I felt they would want me to do. The very least of what George W. Bush can do is finally confess to what he did. Apologize to everyone whose life he destroyed, especially the Iraqi people, and beg for their forgiveness. They have not known a day of peace since March 2003, and neither should he. Names of Iraqi and U.S. war dead who Mike Prysner read out tonight while George W. Bush was speaking in Beverly Hills. Forgive my pronunciation. I mean, no harm. Saleh Mutashar, 43. Namir Noor Eldin, age 22. Saeed Meg, 40. Abdul Hamid Hassan Ali, 76. Kamisa Tuma Ali, 66. Rashid Abdul Hamid, 30. Walid Abdul Hamid Hassan, 35. Asma Salman Rashif, 32. Abdullah Walid, 4. Uni Salim Kafif, 43. Ada Yassin Ahmed, 41. Muhammad Uni Salim, 8. Noor Uni Salim, 14. Saba Uni Salim, 10. Zainab Uni Salim, 5. Aisha Uni Salim, 3. Jamal Ahmed, 41. Marwan Ahmed, 28. Katan Ahmed, 24. Chasim Ahmed, 27. Ahmed Hathim Ahmed Al-Rubia, 21. Mahasan Mohsin Kadum Al-Kazuli, 44. Osama Fadil Abbas, 52. Ali Mohammed Hafed Abdul Razak, 9. Mohammed Abbas Mahmoud, 47. Qasim Mohammed Abbas Mahmoud, 11. Sadi Allah Abbas Al-Kark, 52. Mushtaq Karim Abd Al-Razak, 18. Ganiya Hassan Ali, 55. Ibrahim Abid Ayash, 77. Hamoud Saeed Abtan, 33. Uday Ismail Ibrahim, 27. Madi Sahib Nasir, 26. Ali Khalil Abdul Hassin, 54. Samantha Owen Ewing, 20. Casey Shahan, 24. Thomas Young, 34. Zach Patterson, 33. Jacob David George, 32. Alexander Arredondo, 20. Evan Ashcraft, 24. Michael Mitchell, 25. Sherwood Baker, 30. Michael Peterson, 26. Seth J. Voren, 26. Jeremy R. Smith, 26. Nicholas Druck, 30. Joshua Castile, 33. Anthony Wagner, 29. Keenan Reinhardt, 26. Jonathan Milance, 28. Douglas Barber, 36. Louis Montalvan, 43. Dennis Miller Jr., 21. So bravo to Mike. Absolute bravo to Mike. That's definitely not the end of it, because I want everybody to know what goes into this. This isn't a matter of, I mean, I know I'm in a way preaching to the choir here, right? Like, we all know that the Iraq war was wrong. We all know that people, that soldiers regret it in mass. We know that there have been a lot of suicides based on this. We know that there are former soldiers like Mike who are fighting against imperialism, but it's different hearing it from the soldiers, which is why I really wanted to have Mike on today. And as of now, I can't recall if I already said this, as of now, he has an appointment tomorrow. So I'm hoping we can get him on Wednesday to hear straight from his mouth in real time. But in the meantime, I want to play some additional clips to add context. So Colin, if you can pull up the one tweet from Mike where he says, "So much you could say to Bush, but this is what inspired me to demand an apology from him." And so we're going to watch a video that, again, Mike says inspired him. And this is of a paralyzed Iraq War veteran's last words to George W. Bush.
I declare on behalf of us all, the human detritus, your words are kind. Those who will spend their lives in unending pain and grief. I write this letter, my last letter, to you, Mr. Bush and Mr. Cheney. I write not because I think you grasp the terrible human and moral consequence of your lies. I write this letter because, before my own death, I want to make it clear that I and hundreds of thousands of my fellow veterans know fully who you are and what you've done. You may have faced justice, but in our eyes you are each guilty of egregious war crimes, of plunder, and finally of murder, including the murder of thousands of young Americans, my fellow veterans, whose future you stole. It is you who should pay the consequences. I would not have to lie in my bed, my body filled with painkillers, my life ebbing away, and deal with the fact that hundreds of thousands of human beings, including children, including myself, were sacrificed by you for little more than the greed of oil companies with no more thought than it takes to put out the garbage. My day of reckoning is upon me. Yours will come. I hope you be put on trial, but mostly I hope, for your sakes, that you find the moral courage to face what you have done to me and to many, many others who deserve to live. I hope that before your time on earth ends, as mine is now ending, you will find the strength of character to stand before the American public and the world, and in particular the Iraqi people, and beg for your forgiveness.
By the way, that comes from Eyes Left, which is a podcast. I highly recommend the Eyes Left podcast. But there is one, I have goosebumps. I don't know if others do. I know someone mentioned in the chat that they had goosebumps during Mike's protest. I don't understand how George Bush, well, he clearly has no humanity, right? But I don't understand how George Bush could send all of those people to war, have them die, lie about all of it, and then have a vet, Mike Prysner, protest at his event that cost $500 or more to attend, and then tell him to sit down and behave. Sit down and behave. This is the same guy that folks like Michelle Obama are embracing, and very, very friendly embraces, because he's not Trump. He's not Orange Trump. So now we must embrace George Bush. We must buy his and praise his artwork. We must forget the crimes that he committed. Well, we're not going to forget about it. Colin, if you can bring up, this next clip is from Mike in 2012. So Mike has been, even before this, for a very, very long time, Mike has been traveling the country, even the world, talking about his experiences. And while we won't play the whole thing, we'll play about 5 minutes of it, skipping around a bit. I highly recommend everybody watch the full hopeful thing, though. This is Mike in 2012 talking about his experiences.
The reality is that this government sent those soldiers that they are honoring with this holiday, sent them to a war against the will of the majority of people, both in the United States and in Iraq, that they lied, and we can say now with no question that they lied about why they were sending those soldiers, that they ordered them to unleash the full might of the most powerful military machine in history against a people that had committed no crime nor posed any threat to our friends or family, that they gutted our schools, our communities, our healthcare, our social services to pay for the war, that they laid waste to a beautiful, proud country, and when the war wasn't going well, or was going as they planned, they kept throwing bodies and more bodies and more bodies into the grinder. It will be the day that they'll remember as a day of fear, as a day of pain, as a day that began a new nightmare, one that would take the lives of over 1.3 million people, that would leave 5 million homeless, 4 million orphaned, a day when a foreign military invaded their soil in a war of aggression and would not leave, and remain there for years to raid their homes, torture their parents and children, shred their identity, and patrol their streets. That day, March 19th, 2003, will forever be ingrained into the consciousness of the Iraqi people. Not as a day to honor the US military, but as a day that they saw its true face. From day one of the war, the rules of engagement were such that you could essentially kill anyone you wanted and get away with it, and it would be okay. And in a military inundated and indoctrinated with racism and chauvinism, that if soldiers or private mercenaries wanted to make Iraq their shooting range, they could do it. But it was beyond an environment that allowed forces to run wild. It was a matter of policy. I remember soldiers from the 4th Infantry Division, who I ended up being attached to an armored division that rolled into Tikrit, talking about how when they rolled into the city with tanks and armored vehicles, they rolled in just shooting in all directions, shooting tank guns, shooting heavy machine guns, just in all directions to let the Iraqi people know that we were there and that they shouldn't mess with them. Soldiers and Marines who've been to Iraq will tell you that some were ordered to shoot anybody carrying a shovel in a country that has a lot of farmers because most of their infrastructure had been destroyed. Anyone carrying a shovel should be shot because maybe they were using it to dig an IED. That anyone carrying a cell phone should be shot. These were rules of engagement. Some will tell you of a rule known as 360-degree fire, which means anytime a bomb goes off or an IED goes off, the standard operating procedure or the orders are to shoot in 360 degrees in all directions, even in civilian areas where civilians will no doubtedly be killed. There are several people who will always be burned into my memory that are the ones that taught me the truth and taught me which side I was on. It was men who were urinating themselves and bleeding through sandbags on their heads in detention facilities. It was a father who was shot through the neck and as he was dying saying over and over, I just want to see my family. I just want to see my family. And the number one person, the one that really did it for me was, I have a little sister who's now 18, so she was 8 about at the time I deployed. I got her name tattooed on my arm before I left. Her name's Rachel. And we were ordered at this one point to kick these families out of their homes for whatever reason. And there is this 8-year-old girl who looked exactly like my sister. And it was my job to drag her out of her house as she was crying, as her parents were crying, as her siblings were crying, arrest the males in her family, put them on a truck and send them to those detention facilities. And I couldn't stop looking at her face because it was my sister's face. And I realized, that this girl was exactly like my sister. That man who was shot was exactly like my father. And that these people were just like my family. And then so what happened was I couldn't stop seeing that everything that we were doing to the Iraqi people, I was doing to my own family. Because they are our family. They're our brothers and sisters.
There are no words. Gosh, there are absolutely no words. I really hope everybody watches the full clip. We'll put it in the description. Actually, maybe I can grab it right now and pop it before I forget into the or Colin, actually, if you can just pop the YouTube link into the chats so that people can find it, that would be amazing. Yeah, people sometimes ask me, which journalists or like leftist media figures do I trust implicitly? That list is very small because some of my so-called journalistic heroes have disappointed me greatly in the last year or so. I trust Abby Martin and Mike Prysner implicitly. And that is, you can see why. That's Mike Prysner in 2012. He walks the walk. They don't just talk about what they're going to do. He's been through something that a lot of us have not. And because of his morality, his morals, he has such conviction. You can see it. You can feel it. You all feel it right now. You all have goosebumps. So gosh, please watch that full video. I sent it to, I texted it to him earlier and it was just like, wow. And he said, oh, that one didn't get a lot of traction. I can't remember how he put it. Or you found one that didn't, get seen a lot. So watch it, share it. That is so important. That is so important. And meanwhile, Ellen is going, I can't even remember what, she went to some sports game or something with George W. Bush. Again, that picture with Michelle Obama just hugging George Bush with her eyes closed as you would with like a good friend who she loves. It turns my stomach. People like Mike are the real deal. And I give him major, major, major kudos. The story about the little girl who looks like his sister Rachel. By the way, the fact that Mike got his sister's name tattooed on himself before he went away to war, like that shows you what kind of person he is, right? And he entered the war, signed up for service for what he thought was a great reason. And the fact that he was confronted with a little girl who was like his sister, who looked just like his sister. They're people. They're people. And for so long, our country and George W. Bush and the like wanted us to forget that, wanted us to treat brown people who live somewhere else like others. And the fact that Mike, and there are other vets who do this too, he dedicates his life to exposing the truth is really, really admirable. Again, please watch that video. Colin, if you can pull up Mike's tweet about how much money George W. Bush makes in speaking fees. So again, this is at Mike Prysner on Twitter. George W. Bush has paid $20 to $35 million in speaking fees alone since he left office. And that's just what we know about. The rehabilitation of George W. Bush is disgusting. And that guy has the nerve, the audacity to tell Mike, who lived through this and who has compassion and is a good person, to sit down and behave. Sit down and behave. Well, how about, you behave, George W. Bush, and not murder over 1 million people? He's a war criminal. He's a war criminal. And I think, this next part will infuriate you as well. But I have to bring it to light because this is the reality of today's social media. Colin, if you can bring up the Empire Files tweet about TikTok. So the Empire Files, which was most likely Mike tweeting this, says the video of Mike disrupting Bush has been removed from TikTok for harassment and bullying. And then the next one, Colin, same with Reddit. So what? That's insane. That is insane. For TikTok to remove that video. Imagine those people, like a lot of teenagers, a lot of Zoomers use TikTok, right? They need to see that. They need to see Mike's action. TikTok took it down. Reddit took it down. Will YouTube leave it? I don't know. I sure hope so. I can't see why they wouldn't, but I can't see why TikTok wouldn't. I can't see why Reddit wouldn't. Harassment and bullying. If anyone deserved to get bullied, it's George W. Bush. I mean, where's my shoe? I would love to have the shoe thrower guy on. What a good guy. It's unbelievable to me. It's insane. Yes. Red says our first snowflake war criminal. That's very aptly said. That's disgusting. They're trying to censor this. They're still trying to rehabilitate Bush. They don't want the truth out. They're at the point where they think, okay, that the truth is out now about how we kind of lied our way into a war and we killed 1 million Iraqis, but maybe we can still kind of keep it under the radar, right? Maybe. So let's censor these veterans who lived through it. Disgusting. But of course should not be censored. I just can't. I just cannot believe that is the society that we live in today, where something like that is just completely taken out, memory hold by social media. It's horrible. It's disgusting. And that fuels my fire to make even more certain that the word gets out about what Mike did. Credit Card FM says, why are we focusing on George W. Bush when Biden and Obama are guilty of the same war crimes? Well, first of all, they're guilty of different war crimes. Let's focus on each one's war crimes. Bush by far did the worst war crime. Why wouldn't I focus on that? That's, if you want to make a video focusing on whatever, go for it. We do focus on Biden's war crimes. We do focus on Obama's war crimes all the time. In particular, right now, this is what's happened in the news. And so, I don't even know why I'm addressing this, to be honest. So there's another action happening tonight. Does anyone live in that area? Does anyone live in California? I don't know. I don't know the exact plans. But Colin, if you can pull up the info. Mike had tweeted, lots of tickets are still available for the event George W. Bush is speaking at. So now it's today in Long Beach, California. You need a vaccination card and photo ID to get in. Here's the link. So you can find that at Mike Prysner on Twitter. So if you happen to live in this area, go check it out. Just saying. And so Mike also tweeted, tonight at George W. Bush's event in Long Beach. See you there. And they have a colorful little bush behind bars. It says Terrace Theater, 300 East Ocean Boulevard, Long Beach, and that's in California, today at 7 p.m. So Terrace Theater, Long Beach, 7 p.m. If you happen to live there, Mike will be there today. I don't know the plan, and nobody should until it happens. But I believe that more folks are welcome and wanted, and I'm certain if you were to contact Mike, he could direct you to more information. If you happen to know someone who lives around that area, pass the information along. We need people power, guys. We need people power. We need people out there doing some actions. So like just a million kudos to Mike, who I was already a big fan of. Now even more so. Mike and Abby are just simply good people. They're simply good people. Their hearts are in the right place. Their morals are in the right place. So definitely spread the word. Go share that video around. Go to Mike's Twitter page and or Instagram, Empire Files Instagram. Share this around. People need to see this. Share this video. Let people know. And hopefully Mike and I are still chatting about it. Hopefully we'll have Mike in person on the stream, well, virtually in person on the stream on Wednesday. So that's the hope. And yeah, I don't know, man. Pretty ballsy. Just well done, Mike. Well done to Mike. Moving on, Colin, if you can pull up, and I forgot to do this at the top of the show, my tweet about switching over from Teespring. So we have long had a merch store. Well, I mean, maybe like 2 years, a year and a half, I'm not sure. And I know this was before Colin was working more hours for us. And I was like trying to set up the Teespring store, and I'm not, I don't know. I'm not a graphic person. I'm not anything. So our Teespring store has been like whatever. People have enjoyed their shirts and their merch. It's been fun. It's been great. But it has really been weighing on me for many months. And we've talked about this in the background. That Teespring is not like an ethical place. By that I mean their labor practices. They're not, they just don't have the things you would want to have as a progressive outlet. Like they don't have those things in place. So I've wanted, and I've talked about moving away from them for a bit. Jordan and I have talked about it. And then it just so happened that the Fred Hampton Leftist show had recently started their own merch store on Teespring, which is now called Spring. And so people online got upset about that because people found their labor practices and whatever to be objectionable, which I completely agree with and understand. So they had made a statement saying there's no getting around it. FHL dropped the ball. The company FHL used to do our merchandise is called Spring, originally Teespring. FHL dropped the ball by not doing our due diligence and researching this company. And they go on to say, I don't know if we have, yeah. They go on to say Spring is a company connected to, well, I guess I didn't continue it. Spring is a company. Anyway, it doesn't in the end matter. So it's not a good, ethical, progressive company. So this spurred me to say, okay, good. That's good on them. They took the criticism, and it made me think like, damn, why haven't we, we've been talking about this. Why haven't we just done it, moved away from them? So I tweeted from the Status Coup account at Status Coup on Twitter. Follow us. Kudos to Fred Hampton Leftist for this decision and acknowledgement. We at Status Coup have long had merch on Teespring and have been talking about for months about the many issues with that and made plans to find a better option. Time to do more than talk. We'll announce our new sustainable store link soon. So then I looked into options, which we have some issues in that we don't have time to order from a place and have it like shipped to us, and then us sit there and like ship the orders out ourselves. We're journalists. We don't have the staff to do that. We are journalists. Like we're not a store. So it's a challenge a bit to find a company. The thing about Teespring is you set up your store, you upload your designs, and Teespring does the printing for you, and they ship it to the customer. So it's hands off for us. Now, though, I've been able to find something that's much more closely aligned with us. So I'm very grateful for that. And so it's, I'm trying to find my link to it. Colin, if you can bring up wherever I have it on mine, the part that explains about the company we went with. Yeah, so this is T-Mill. Oh, it's at the top. That's why I can't find mine. Bear with me, my friends. I'm pulling up my copy so I can read it better. So this is T-Mill, and this is a company. It's based out of the UK, actually. So it's not like, you know, made in the US, which it depends how you feel about that. I would much rather have like a union made American company. I haven't found one yet that will ship for us, which is the issue. But I'm happy with this company because they use organic farming. So they talk about the benefits of organic farming. They use a more sustainable method of processing. They use let's see here. They use renewable energy power, real-time printing. I'm trying to scroll down here. So they use ethical packaging. They use sustainable methods, essentially, and they pay workers fairly. So I feel like this is a good move. Yeah, I'm happy with this. So Colin, if you can pull up our store. We've now switched our store over here. So you can find it at statuscoup.tmill.com, or you can go to statuscoup.com and simply click on our store link. And Colin has been adding merch, and we're also going to be adding some new designs that Colin's been working on. So go ahead and scroll through and just show people. There are all kinds of designs. I think this is so cool. Like, I want the tie-dye one so bad. That's so amazing. Very cool. Just good options, and I feel better about it. So I love it. I'm happy with this. Go to statuscoup.com, statuscoup.tmill.com. And I think this is a good move. So I'm very happy. Travers, I just saw in the comments you saying, hold on, where'd it go? Damn. It's hard to find stuff that like moves so quickly online. Was it you, Travers? Someone said that oh, yeah, Travers says, Jack Crenshaw name dropped Jordan on Joe Rogan in a good way. Wow. Colin, can you screenshot that and send it in our text group chat so we don't lose that? I want to look that up, man. That's cool. That's really good to hear. So anyway, I hope that this more sustainable company is a better option. It's not like we don't make a ton of money on merch, but I think like people feel good about wearing Status Coup merch, and you'll like love the new designs Colin's coming up with. So it's going to be great. It's going to be great. So go to our store, statuscoup.com, and click the store link and check out our new, more sustainable, more leftist focused merch that I can feel better about. Travers, did I say puppy power? I meant people power, but puppy power is also a good thing, always. Okay, so I really urge you guys, going back to what Mike Prysner did, I urge you to keep an eye on his Twitter and the Empire Files Twitter and channel, and see what comes tonight and also share his stuff from last night. It's really important that people see this, because this is the kind of stuff, guys, that you can sway folks with, right? Like even those on the right wing, etc. So next, I want to pull up, Colin, if you can, the NPR article about Roe versus Wade. Next topic. Okay, so this is out of NPR. I just wanted to give everyone an update on what's going on with abortion rights in this country. And it's scary. It's not good. There are no two ways about it. So again, out of NPR, the Supreme Court sets a date for arguments in case that could challenge Roe versus Wade. This is by Nina Totenberg, and forgive me if I pronounce this incorrectly, Krishnadev Kalamur. The Supreme Court will hear arguments December 1st in a case from Mississippi that tests whether all state laws that ban pre-viability abortions are unconstitutional. The case, Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization, has the potential to pose a serious challenge to Roe v. Wade. That's the 1973 ruling that declared that a woman has a constitutional right to terminate a pregnancy in the first 6 months of her pregnancy when the fetus is incapable of surviving outside the womb. Mississippi bans most abortions after 15 weeks, significantly before fetal viability. In a panel of the Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, one of the most conservative in the U.S. blocked enforcement of the law, finding it in conflict with Roe v. Wade and subsequent abortion decisions. Mississippi's law is one of many that conservative states have passed in the last year or more, seeking to eliminate or severely restrict abortion. Bans on pre-viability abortion have been struck down until now in a dozen states since 2019, including Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Kentucky, Louisiana, Montana, Missouri, Ohio, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Utah, and Tennessee. In May, the court agreed to hear the case. Monday's announcement puts a date on that decision. The court's announcement came weeks after the High Court allowed Texas to move forward, for now, with a new law to ban abortions after cardiac activity is detected. This happens usually after 6 weeks, which is often before women know they are pregnant. So there is a lot to that. So first of all, I want to once again highlight the 6-week thing. 6 weeks pregnant really means 4 weeks because they add on the 2 weeks since the woman's last period. That is not a lot of time. A lot of women have no idea that they're pregnant at all at that time. The other thing is that it doesn't matter what you think about abortion. It doesn't, because it will always exist and it has always existed. If we eliminate abortion, if we knock down Roe v. Wade, that simply makes it a rich woman's game. It will always be accessible to rich, powerful women. Poor women will be harmed by this. It's disgusting, and it's going to get worse. And so what do? Well, we keep fighting, we keep talking about it, but really, what do? Texas is a disaster right now. Women are fearful. There are reports from obstetricians in other states around Texas reporting that women are traveling to them. Well, a poor woman who works 3 jobs or 2 jobs or whatever it is can't travel to another state to get their abortion. This issue is such that Republicans often, well, at least the ones in power, don't actually care about it. They only care that it is such a single issue for so many. They only care that they can use this as a talking point. They can use this as a fundraising point. I've already mentioned, I went into a DC abortion rights rally or whatever it was, abortion rights exhibit, or anti-abortion, excuse me. So pro-life. I went to a pro-life event, it was the weirdest thing ever. It's up on YouTube here somewhere. It was such a weird event. And I outright asked, in particular, Focus on the Family, which is James Dobson's insane Christian, I don't know, it's an insane Christian organization, let's say, to put it nicely. This is what I grew up under, was this Focus on the Family and BS. And I said, okay, so you are pro-life, yeah? And so we talked about that for a little bit. And then I said, well, what about the brown children who are being bombed across the country? What do you think about that? And the girl started texting people and went over to get her supervisor. And it was like, well, this is a hard question for you? How is this a hard question for you? That's insane. How is this not the easiest? If you are pro-life, how is this not the easiest question in the entire world for you to answer? Just absurd. But I have another point to bring you some rage. Colin, if you can pull up the tweet blaming 2016 voters. So here's this was a tweet. So the Ariane de Vogue tweet says, Justin, Supreme Court will hear a direct challenge to Roe v. Wade in Mississippi case on December 1st. So a Twitter user with a handle, get this, President Biden saved the world. What? Okay, first of all, no. But then this person goes on to say, way to go, 2016 protest voters. You really showed us. That's not what happened. People more progressive than Hillary Clinton, are not the reason the Supreme Court is in shambles. We're not the reason. This is controversial to say, depending on who you say it to. Nobody told Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who I do admire for some things. She had terrible shit rulings on other things. No one told her after having cancer to stay in the Supreme Court. She very easily could have left during Obama's term and had him, have someone else be in the Supreme Court. Why not that? Why is that not blamed? Why are Bernie Sanders voters who voted for Jill Stein or whatever ended up happening? That's what I did. I voted for Jill Stein. I live in a blue state. That's what I did in 2016. Why are we to blame? That makes no sense at all. Jill Stein did not cause this. Jill Stein did not cause Hillary Clinton to lose. That is just not the facts. If you break down the demographics, or not demographics, but the voting data, it's clear why Hillary Clinton lost, and it's partially due to her own hubris. So maybe go yell at Hillary. I don't know. Maybe she should have taken a trek to Wisconsin. Not that hard. I've been to Wisconsin. It's great. Should have gone, Hillary. Get some cheese. Win the Supreme Court. All good. Also, hashtag Bernie would have won. I digress. It's crazy to me that people are still litigating 2016. In some ways, I would almost take the 2016 discourse over what's happened to progressives these days, which I've spoken a lot about that, which is truly just a side note. We were at least more unified at that point. The result of us being smeared as the reason for this is just crazy. It's just crazy. It's just nuts. It doesn't make any sense. Yet they will still say it. They will still blame us. They will still blame progressives. And that's okay. We can let that roll off our backs. The whatever the guy's handle was, Joe Biden has saved the world guy, is obviously in La La Land. He's not thinking from a place of reality. But we do all have to band together and fight against this because it is scary. It's not time to point fingers, although we easily can. It's time to band together and help women. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's a very scary thing. December 1st is not that far away. We'll have to keep an eye on what happens in the run-up to that. Again, keep smashing the like button. Share this stream, folks. I want to quickly, I have a lot of stories that I want to get to today. This next one, Colin, if you can pull up the Phoenix New Times story about COVID relief funds. So this is something that we've covered a lot, is the fact that, okay, so there were supposed to be COVID relief funds for a variety of reasons. Well, none of those reasons. The reasons were supposed to be to help people, to help Americans, to help citizens, to help those who live here. The reasons were not to, or purportedly not to, increase high-tech police surveillance, but that seems to be what's happened. And this has not been widely reported, so I do urge you to share this. Again, this is out of Phoenix, the Phoenix New Times, Katya Schwenk, saying in Mesa, millions of, I assume that's Mesa, Arizona, which I have been to. Very beautiful. In Mesa, millions of COVID relief funds will go to high-tech police surveillance. This summer, the city of Mesa announced ambitious plans for a real-time crime center, a 24/7 surveillance hub fitted with a video wall of streaming CCTV cameras at police headquarters. The price tag is high. The technology for the center alone will cost the city over $3 million. Recently, though, the city settled on an innovative source of funding for the project: federal COVID relief dollars, which are designated for local public health spending in the city. That doesn't seem right, does it? Currently, $3.3 million of the $52 million Mesa received in the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, earlier this year is earmarked for the center. The city will still have to foot the bill for staffing and remodeling without the help of the relief money. Oh, let's shed a tear for them. City leaders say they hope to have the system up and running by December. It'll be very high tech, Deputy City Manager Michael Kennington promised the City Council at an August 26 meeting. Mesa's Mayor John Giles has since greenlit the proposal. The proposal is not particularly anomalous. As cities find themselves swimming in another round of federal relief dollars, plenty of the money is finding its way to law enforcement, encouraged by the direction from the Biden administration to use the funds to help reduce crime. Yeah, that's insane. Cities are finding themselves swimming in federal relief dollars. You know who is not finding themselves swimming in federal relief dollars? The people who are being evicted, the people who are ill, the people who are really suffering from this pandemic. COVID relief dollars does not need to go to high-tech police surveillance. In no world does that make any sense at all. That's just insane. It makes no sense. This is infuriating. Again, I have to reiterate, this is not really making news anywhere. I don't even remember where I saw this like one random tidbit article in this small town paper. To continue, let's see. Elsewhere in the country, police departments have purchased everything from all-terrain vehicles to artificial intelligence with virus relief funds. Despite robust opposition, Phoenix gave bonuses to police officers with the money back in April. WTF. Police departments have seen the grant money as a way to pay for all the fancy technology and equipment they've always wanted. God, but never had a reason or the funding to get, said Matthew Gariglia, a policy analyst with the Electronic Frontier Foundation, an organization that monitors law enforcement surveillance. All of a sudden, you have cops saying, you know what we need to fight COVID? We need drones. I mean, God, help me. Mesa, whose police department boasts that its crime rate has dropped to the lowest in recorded history, received a $52 million ARPA grant in May. It was divvied up into different spending categories: public health initiatives, economic recovery, and community services, as well as increased pay for some city employees. The $3.3 million dedicated to the Real-Time Crime Center comes out of the pool of $8 million that is meant for public health. Another $160,000 of the public health funds will be used to purchase body scanners for jails. This is the second time COVID funds have boosted Mesa's public safety budget, which also includes the city's fire department. More than half of the $90 million in CARES Act funds Mesa received last year were allocated to public safety. Let's see here. Andre Miller, a pastor and longtime civil rights advocate in Mesa, told Phoenix New Times he found the budget increase to be obscene. Maybe we'll have to try to get that guy on for sure. It's not fully clear, so I scrolled down a bit. It's not fully clear exactly what Tech Mesa plans to buy with the $3.3 million. It will fund the video wall of cameras at the center, plus integration software, but the city already has CCTV cameras, and in May, spent $300,000 on another new mobile camera system. The Mesa police chief and the city manager did not respond to inquiries from the New Times. Wow. According to the Atlas of Surveillance, which tracks such centers across the country, there is currently only one other real-time crime center in Arizona. On and on. Because they're expensive, because they're big, there's a long history of departments doing anything they can to pay for them and for the technology to fill them up. Gariglia explained, some departments have even used private donors or corporate sponsors. Then they link up to as much surveillance as the department has. So far, there has been little dissent from the council or the mayor regarding the proposal. Just one council member, Kevin Thompson, inquired about privacy issues during an initial presentation in June. Goes on and on. Mesa would disagree. Cunnington says that the city's plans follow federal guidance to bolster public safety with the relief funds. Yeah, that's not what this is doing. Critics argue that the definition is narrow. Public safety encompasses a lot more, Miller said. As Gariglia put it, there's no way to police yourself out of a pandemic, and there's certainly no way to surveil yourself out of a pandemic. I don't even know what to say to that story. How far we've fallen from hashtag defund the police, right? When we had hope that the protests surrounding George Floyd's murder at the hands of police, as well as the many murders before and since then of Black men and Black women, Breonna Taylor, for one, how far we've fallen. Now they're using pandemic funds meant for public health to expand the militarization of police. This is absolutely disgusting. Disgusting. And it's flying under the radar. And this is just one location. And there are so few journalists who are actually doing this work. Like, kudos to these journalists in Phoenix who dug this up about Mesa. By the way, this area that is in reference is has a lot of native folk who live around and in. So imagine that. And you can bet, which we'll get to, that the funding is not going to go towards finding missing and Indigenous women. Wouldn't that be? If you are really going to use funds like this to boost up public health or safety or whatever you're lying about doing, you could at least pretend to try to find missing Indigenous women and children. Just saying. It's a prime area. Absolutely a nightmare. Just despicable. Okay, next topic. If you can pull up the Chris Martin tweet saying, join me in protest 9/20, talking about vaccine apartheid. So this next topic I didn't, and when it first popped up on my feed today, I was trying to figure out, is this guy an anti-vaxxer? What's going on? And then I reread it, and no, he's of course not. And I got excited after that because this is exactly what progressives should be doing. This is exactly what progressives should be doing. Not fighting against the vaccine, not like lying about the vaccine, which Kim Iverson had a real big one that you can check Jordan's feed at Jordan Sheridan on Twitter, where he points out like a very easy to read graph that Kim Iverson flat out lied about, and her audience is just soaking up. So instead of stuff like that, so-called progressives need to pay attention to facts and get vaccinated for the good of themselves and for the good of other people, because as progressives, we don't just care about ourselves, we care about others. I know I'm preaching to the choir here. Yeah, we've made our thoughts on the vaccine very well known. But what I've said is, why would progressives like join in anti-vaccine rallies, and like, why are you doing this? That's insane, and it's based on lies. So instead of what I thought that it might be, this tweet, this rally is actually exactly what we should be rallying against, which is the fact that the United States, Joe Biden and friends, Bill Gates, are withholding the vaccine from those who need it in the world, across the world. That is what we as progressives should be fighting against and railing against. These greedy companies, it's not that the vaccines don't work. They of course work. There's a profit incentive for the vaccines to work. So instead of railing against the vaccines, we need to be railing against the vaccines not being given to those who need it across the world. Give it to people. I don't care about your like intellectual property, your copyrights or trademarks or whatever. I don't care. We're in a pandemic, a worldwide pandemic, which is, I guess, the definition of pandemic. So whatever. But it's get it out there. So this protest, these actions are exactly what need to happen. Colin, you can pop that tweet back up. So this is Chris Martin, who says, join me in protest 9/20, which was today. 7 months in power, Biden still has no plan for global COVID vaccine access. Billions remain unvaccinated. Millions dying. New variants keep coming. At POTUS and at Health and Human Services hold knowledge that could catalyze vaccine manufacturing everywhere. Will they share it? So far, the answer is no. And then, Colin, if you can open up the Health Gap Global Access Project link, I'll go through that. So this protest is based off of this organization. So this is Health Gap. You can go to healthgap.org, and this is their End Vaccine Apartheid. This was their protest. These were the details. This has already happened. So this was at, I've never heard of this plaza, Dag Hammerist Jold Plaza in New York. Biden said the U.S. would be an arsenal of vaccines against COVID-19. Instead, he's putting drug company greed ahead of saving lives around the world. Join us in anger as Biden prepares to address the UN General Assembly. And so you can see, which folks have joined that. But Emily Sanderson has written up a bit about what this is about. And again, this is what progressives should be doing. This is what progressives should be fighting against. We refuse to let President Biden continue to fuel the COVID vaccine apartheid with inaction. The unconscionable decision Biden makes every day to allow pharma monopolies to dictate the price and pace of COVID vaccination is perpetuating new infections, needless deaths of people in poor countries, and creating dangerous variants. While billions of people are yet to be vaccinated, Biden just announced everyone in the U.S. should get booster shots. We are uniting in anger outside the UN General Assembly while President Biden and the leaders of other wealthy nations are in New York. Join us and demand President Biden immediately expand COVID-19 vaccine manufacturing, break pharma monopolies, ensure sharing of production technologies, and end the false scarcity that perpetuates this pandemic. This is what will get the world vaccinated ASAP, keep people healthy, and stop new variants from emerging and spreading across the globe. We demand President Biden actively cooperate with South Africa, India, and other TRIPS waiver proponents to produce a draft WTO TRIPS waiver text and uses all public and private diplomatic means available to press the European Union and others to end their opposition and secure swift passage of a comprehensive waiver agreement. Leverage the US government's past public investments, existing legal authorities, and considerable equities to make vaccine firms transfer technology to capable and qualified producers around the world, and launch and fund a global manufacturing plan to increase and democratize vaccine production in hubs worldwide. So that is what took place today. And Colin, if you can pop up the Chris Morton tweet saying scene report from the vaccine apartheid protest. So this is just, I don't have any video, but Colin, if you can just pull up those photos and people can see. And it seems like it was, decently attended, and then that folks really understand. You can see a sign, President Biden, millions are dying. Vaccinate the world now, which is so, so important. More photos. So yeah, you can check out those links to see what's going on. And I'm glad to see this. I'm really glad to see this. Absolutely. I think it's so important. And once again, as progressives, we know that the facts are that the vaccine works. Yeah, it really sucks that I'm no fan of Fauci. I'm no fan of Biden. The fact is that the vaccine works. It really sucks that vaccination rates are so low, which is part of why we're having the problems we're having. You can check my Twitter at Jen Elizabeth J on Twitter for more of my thoughts on that. But it does work, and it works better if everybody has it. So one of the pieces of misinformation out there is people saying, oh, if you're vaccinated, why do you care if I am? Well, because vaccines are, of course, not 100% infallible. Of course not. And I think that Biden and Fauci could have done a much better job of explaining not only that, but the fact that the science, the technology behind this vaccine is not brand new. They didn't just pull this out of their behinds. The vaccine works. Red says, reminder, vaccinated people still spread COVID. Yeah, so that's another point that's easily talked about. Yes, that's true. But vaccinated people have fewer symptoms and are therefore less likely to spread the vaccine because of that. So it depends on the kind of data. 1 second, guys. My son's in there. I'm live, buddy. What's up?
Did you get a sub from Red Sun?
Yeah, for you.
Lucky ate it. Jacob didn't tell me that.
Wonderful. Sorry, buddy. Okay, so that update is that the dog ate my son's ham sub. So anyway, sorry for the interruption there. My dog's really cute, but what a mess. So what I was saying about the vaccine is, yeah, so it lessens your symptoms, so you're then less likely to spread it. It doesn't stop you from spreading it, but you're less likely to get it in the first place, and you're less likely to get symptoms that then cause you to spread it. So yeah, I really think everybody should read the book, How to Lie with Statistics, because some, including some purportedly on the left, are doing a really bang up job of lying with statistics. So yeah, we should be fighting for those in other countries, not yelling about the vaccine, because the vaccine works and we all need to get it. So I was actually accused, by the way, and I wrote about this on my Twitter too, of being paid to spread the good news about the vaccine. First of all, I would always disclose if I were paid by anyone. I'm absolutely not. I simply care about other people, which is what progressives are supposed to do. So that's why I talk about getting the vax. I also, for those who don't know, have long hauler COVID, and it's been really hard. Next topic, because we do have so much to get to today. Colin, if you can bring up the Shayla Davis tweet about the discovery of Gabby Pedido's body. So this, you guys, I'm sure, because you can't escape it. And I'm glad they covered it. I'm horrified for her family. But what I'm talking about next is Gabby Pedido. And she, it's such a horrible story. If by chance you haven't heard, man, if by chance you haven't heard, so this was I believe she's in her, I believe she's 22, but she's at the very least in her early 20s. And she quit her job, or left her job as a nutritionist, and decided to become like a travel blogger. And she purchased a van to travel around the country with her boyfriend. And people noticed some strange things. She'd previously lived with her boyfriend's family for reportedly about a year. Details are fuzzy on some of these things. But again, her and her boyfriend, Bryan Laundrie, decided to travel around the country. And it's Jilly Love, I have to. Vax destroys natural immunity. You will be dependent on big pharma medical experimentation forever. No, that's not true. It's not true. Please stop. Stop with the misinformation. Get vaccinated. COVID is much more damaging and dangerous. COVID has destroyed my life. COVID has destroyed my life. Get vaccinated. I will never be the mother that I want to be. I will never be the journalist I want to be because I got COVID by reporting on Rudy Giuliani's election conspiracy theories. As you guys, a lot of you know, I ended up with long COVID. I ended up with POTS. No, stop telling people this. Stop telling people lies. I know that you believe it. No, Delta is not a vaccine injury. Stop lying. Stop listening to people who don't have your best interest at heart. It is horrible. It is horrible what's happened. I understand how this vax misinformation takes off. I completely understand because I fell for it back 13 years ago. I was a new mother. I had just had a newborn baby. I wanted to be the very best mother ever. And so I joined these like natural mom groups. I was young. I was 22. I didn't have family support. I had nothing. It was hard. And so I turned to the internet and I fell into these mom groups, these natural mom groups. And they told me stupid shit like, you don't want to give your baby medicine to break a fever because it's their body telling them, or like it's their body fighting and you have to let their body like learn and fight. No, what a dumbass thing. Like, thank God I called my my son's pediatrician and they were like, no, that's like, I want to say a word that's not okay to say. That's a really bad idea. Really bad idea. And these same anti-vaxxers were like, yeah, putting on these vaccines in your baby is gonna basically like destroy their lives. It's gonna be horrible. And so I was researching like obsessively. And I decided, I was like, oh my God, if I vaccinate my child, I got to a point where I was like, if I vaccinate my baby, like it's going to be devastating. It's going to be horrible, whatever. And I was, I went to college. I essentially double majored. I had a psychology degree. I had an education degree, an elementary education degree. I consider myself a smart person. So when I'm saying this, I'm not saying that people are like unintelligent. Yeah, I think that's the word. Speaking of being unintelligent, I can't remember words. That's part of my COVID long hauler, by the way, is not remembering things. Anyway, so I fell into it, and I even like inquired with my baby's pediatrician. God, no, stop, guys, stop. You're supposed to be leftish. You're supposed to be smart. Oh my God. Oh my God. I can't. This misinformation. Like, seriously, stop. Stop. You're being misled. So I was like, okay, well, I want to get my baby vaccinated, but I'm really worried. So maybe we'll do like a delayed schedule. And I'm grateful. I gave in to my son's pediatrician, and I am so glad. That's not to say that pediatricians are always correct. They gave me the worst breastfeeding advice on the planet. And I actually ended up being, I wanted to be a lactation consultant. Julie, stop shedding on me. That's ridiculous. Stop it. Stop. You think I'm shedding on you like more or less having had COVID and long COVID? Like, am I radioactive now? Stop. Because now I've had the vax and long COVID and COVID. So God, never come near me. That's ridiculous. And I will get mad about it because this misinformation is killing people. So anyway, my son's pediatrician talked sense into me, and obviously I was wrong. Obviously, I had good intentions. I wanted my son to be so healthy. I had a really shit childhood. I was abused sexually. I was abused in other ways. I had a really bad childhood, depending on where I was homeless or not, or, you know, it's hard. Like I have a very complicated upbringing. Depending on where I was, it was okay or not, like, or very not okay. So I wanted to do better than I had. And so I fell for a lot of shit. And so it infuriates me even more. Yeah, bye, Red. If it's getting pathetic, like, bye. Like, this is just the truth. I'm not lying to you. I'm not lying to you. I also know how to read scientific papers and research papers, and like people like Kim Iverson are flat out lying to you. They are flat out lying to you. Look at what Jordan tweeted today. You can look at the chart yourself. It's a lie, but people won't look at it themselves. They'll just look at the headline of the pretty girl who is talking. Yeah, Kim Iverson's hot, so let's listen to her vaccine takes. No. It's infuriating. You're killing people if you're spreading this BS and saying that I'm shedding. Like, okay, bye. Like, no, that's absurd, guys. It's absurd. And yeah, there could be side effects from the vax. But I have a hell of a side effect from getting COVID, which will last for the rest of my life, and it's called POTS. Look it up. The simple act of me standing up from a seated or laying position sends my heart rate skyrocketing. I have heat intolerance. I am extremely tired all the time. Julie Love, no, it is in their best interest for the vaccine to work. Why would, yeah, I am scolding. I don't care, cheese sandwich. Like, no, I am scolding. It's absurd. I don't allow misinformation on a worldwide pandemic on my chat. I'm sorry to tell you. Get over it. I respect a lot of you who I'm directing my comments at right now, so don't get it twisted. But also, I'm not going to allow you to spread misinformation on my chat. It's just not happening because this is too dire. I slept for most of the day. My to-do list was extraordinarily long. That's the reality of having long COVID. The reality is I can't cover a lot of the things I need and want to cover in the field. I just can't physically. The reality is my brain, yeah, Congress is exempt, so let's fight that. That's ridiculous, Jilly. I agree. I agree with you. They should have to get it. I agree. My memory, my cognitive function is declined dramatically, and it's hurtful. It's hurtful. You know, if I'm talking and forget something, it's embarrassing, especially if I'm freaking live on the air, which it happens. Like if Jordan is monologuing about something, as he does, I say that in a loving way, but I'll forget and like be desperately trying to remember what I'm supposed to say next, because this has devastated my cognitive function. It's devastated my memory. Come on, guys. Come on. COVID is serious. Long COVID is serious. POTS is serious. Don't lie. Don't listen to liars. Get vaccinated and then rail against the fact that we're withholding this from other countries. Why on earth would Pfizer, Moderna, Big Pharma, whatever, why would they develop something that doesn't work? Like, because it's made by Big Pharma, should diabetics not take their diabetes, not take insulin because it's made by Big Pharma? No? Come on, guys. We have a lot to rail against. We have a lot to fight against. It sucks. It really sucks that we're beholden to Big Pharma and our corrupt government to take this vax. It sucks, but that's the facts. That's the facts. Anyway, back to this really important story. I'm sorry, I really had to address that. Anyway, back to this Shayla Davis tweet. So Gabby Pedido, she travel blogger, and she and her boyfriend were taking a trip. Now, on the way, as we found out after she disappeared, because she disappeared at a certain point, which was very noticeable because, well, if you're, you know, trying to earn an income and gain a following as a travel blogger, it's going to be noticed when you suddenly stop or when there are issues. So that's what happened. All of a sudden, Gabby was gone. And the last message that her parents received from her was kind of sketchy. It said something like, there's no service in Yosemite. And her parents weren't even sure that... Guys, stop with the vaccine misinformation in the chat. I'm dead serious. Like, gone. It's gone. I feel like I'm dealing with first graders. Not that you guys, like, if you're not doing this, I'm not talking to you, to be clear. It just, like, this has destroyed me. And so it makes me really upset. I don't mean any harm. I don't mean to be, like, whatever. But it makes me sad. So, God, I hate being discouraged or distracted by this. It's really distracting though. Anyway, I'm going to completely focus on this story because it is important for a lot of reasons. So, Gabby was suddenly gone. Her parents had a message saying that she didn't have any service. So that was very concerning for a lot of people. So the internet kind of started looking into it, trying to figure out what happened. And then we got some footage from police, I believe in Utah. And this was body cam footage that lasted about between an hour and a half and 2 hours. And on this body cam footage, Gabby is in complete distress. She's crying. She's really shooken up. And she, at one point, she said something like, you know, that her boyfriend Bryan doesn't believe in what she's doing, didn't think she could do it, on and on. And this guy seemed real sketchy all along the way. So there were, you know, Discord groups being set up to try to help find her. There were Reddit subreddits being set up, and then TikToks started coming out. And one in particular was like, oh my gosh, this was a TikTok. She said, oh my gosh, my boyfriend and I picked up Bryan Laundrie and drove him. And when, he said, take me to Jackson, which she thought meant Jackson Hole. And then when she said something about Jackson Hole, Bryan started freaking out and he wanted to get out of the car. So out of their vehicle. So he did. He had offered to pay them $200 to take him. So she made a TikTok. She had told the FBI this information. Others were trying to share information if they had seen her or not. The internet was kind of coming together, which can be a really scary thing, right? Because we all know what happened with Reddit and the Boston bombing. They got it wrong and they ruined a person's life, literally. People have been misidentified and have committed suicide over it in various occasions. So I was a little apprehensive about this. I was thinking, are these TikToks talking about like his location, like Bryan's location, who of course was the top suspect. Unfortunately, it's the case that when a woman goes missing or is murdered, you've got to look at the partner, the male partner. It's just an unfortunate fact. So I was concerned about social media's kind of impact on the case, like by this girl on TikTok revealing this information. Is this damaging the case? Because there have been instances where police were close to catching someone, but they were, the person in question was tipped off as to next steps and so on. But it just so happens that social media really came through. Because this was a road trip, police had no idea. FBI got involved. They had no idea where to search for Gabby. No idea. Because that text, that last text that her parents received could have been fake. They don't know. It could have been from Bryan. So they weren't sure. And it came out yesterday that another YouTube couple was driving by, or had driven by. They didn't realize it. They had driven by Gabby's van. It's a white van. And it's really kind of a chilling story, which we're not going to focus on that as much, but it's a chilling story because this couple that found the van said that they didn't realize what had happened, but they had lost their own small child years ago, and that they felt guided by their child's memory to go back and look at this footage. And they went back and looked at it, and there was the white van. There was Gabby's white van with her flip-flop on the ground behind it. So they were able to get this information to officers, and they indeed then were able to find Gabby's body. Unfortunately, the worst possible outcome, Gabby not just missing, but murdered. So it's important to note that a couple of days ago, Bryan also went missing. And this was following the TikTok video of the woman who said she'd picked him up hitchhiking, that her and her boyfriend had picked him up hitchhiking. Bryan's parents have been really sketchy as hell. They've been misleading officers. I really feel that they need to be looked into. As far as I know, Bryan is still not found, but Gabby's remains have been found. So Colin, if you can pull up the Shayla Davis tweet. So this is Shayla Davis saying, I'm shaking reading about the discovery of Gabby Pedido's body in Wyoming. While we're watching this case unfold, please take 5 seconds to read about Daniel Robinson, a geologist who went missing in the desert outside Buckeye 3 months ago. His father is still looking for him. So this is something that I want to highlight. Gabby Pedido got insane media coverage. She got her own subreddit, her own Discord chats, a lot of things. A lot of people's attention were driven by this. And in my opinion, rightly so. Now, it feels almost ghoulish to mention this, but I have to. It's partially or largely because she was a very attractive young white blonde girl that she got this much attention. I mean, it's a literal phenomenon that has been studied of pretty white girls who go missing and getting enormous attention. So I don't bring that up to diminish Gabby's memory at all. This is horrifying. I am so sorry to her family. This is awful. Just because someone is, thank you, Chris. It was Red, White, and Bethune who is the YouTube group or a couple that spotted her. So major kudos to that family. So I'm sorry to Gabby's family. It's awful what happened to her. If you watch that body cam footage of her sobbing, there are now reports that there was domestic violence. She wasn't really allowed to have friends. It's awful. So just because a girl is white doesn't mean like we should, go have the pendulum swing the other way and not talk about it or not care. Of course we should care. It's horrible. But I want to mention that there are others missing. And I'm going to get back to Daniel in just a second. Before we move on, I want to give more of an overview of Gabby. If you can bring up that CNN article, Colin. So this is CNN. FBI spends hours searching family home of Gabby Pedido's fiance, Bryan Laundrie, as he remains missing. The FBI searched the family home of Gabby Pedido's fiance, Bryan Laundrie, in Florida for hours Monday, a day after investigators across the country found what they believe to be her remains. In the morning, FBI investigators searched Laundrie's parents' home in Northport as part of a court-authorized search warrant related to the Pedido case. His parents were escorted from the home before the search and then were brought back inside for questioning, police said. Agents removed a number of items from the home, and a Ford Mustang convertible was also towed away. The FBI tweeted Monday evening that the search was finished, but the investigation is going. Meanwhile, investigators are still searching for Laundrie, who returned to the Florida home without Pedido earlier this month, declined to talk to investigators, and then went missing last week. The search for him had centered on a nearby nature reserve, but investigators shifted their focus after they exhausted all avenues in searching the grounds there, Northport Police spokesperson Josh Taylor said Monday. On Sunday, human remains that officials believe to be of Pedido's were found in an undeveloped camping area in Wyoming's Bridger Teton National Forest on the eastern edge of Grand Teton National Park. An autopsy is scheduled Tuesday to confirm the identity. Pedido, 22, and Laundrie, 23, had been road tripping in a white van through the American West this summer, all while regularly posting photos and and stories to their social media pages with the hashtag #VanLife. These posts abruptly stopped in late August, though. Laundrie returned to his home in Northport, Florida with their van, but without Pedido on September 1st, according to police. Now, this is a disputed point. Bryan Laundrie's whereabouts are reported by his parents, who have been acting very sketchy. So take that part with a grain of salt. Pedido's family, unable to get in touch with her, reported her missing on September 11th. In the days since, her story has become a national obsession for many, spurring digital detectives to comb through the couple's online trail to try to solve the case. The story has also further highlighted the tens of thousands of missing person stories that do not garner such intense interest. There were nearly 90,000 active missing person cases as of the end of 2020, according to the National Crime Information Center. More details about an incident involving the couple emerged Monday when authorities in Utah released a recording of a 911 call where a man described a woman being slapped. In the audio provided to CNN by the Grand County Sheriff's Office in Utah, a caller to 911 tells an operator he wants to report a domestic dispute and describes a white van with a Florida license plate. We drove by and the gentleman was slapping the girl, the caller says. Then we stopped. They ran up and down the sidewalk. He proceeded to hit her, hopped in the car, and they drove off. By the way, I want to say if you ever see, depending on your own safety, if you ever see domestic violence, try to help the woman. Try to help the woman, please, please, in a safe way. So it goes on to say that they're doing, a full forensic examination, that the family's been notified. And there's a lot to this case. It's a real rabbit hole. It's really, really sad. It's just horrible. So I hope we find more information out. I hope that if indeed he is the one who did it, I can't say he did because I don't have those facts, but as a person, if I'm gonna, look at the circumstances and look at everything that's happened, why is he on the lam? Just saying. So yeah, I'm gonna keep up with Gabby's story, but Jordan and I have long wanted to do a series a reporting series on missing and murdered Indigenous women and children. I would like to also do children because it's a truly disgusting and horrible phenomenon. And so, as we've talked about, it's an actual study phenomenon that, the world, our country pays attention to missing pretty white girls and not anyone else. So, Colin, if you can pull up the stats on Indigenous people. This article is quite, it's not shocking, but I'll go ahead and use that word. It's shocking to really see it in print. So, one second here. 710 Indigenous, this is out of insider.com by Kelsey Vlamis. 710 Indigenous people are missing in Wyoming where Gabby Pedido disappeared. So let that settle. Let that settle. 710 Indigenous people are missing. The disappearance of Gabby Pedido, possibly in Wyoming, has caused a national outcry. But in the same state, 710 Indigenous people were reported missing from 2011 to 2020. Despite the extent of the issue, missing and murdered Indigenous people get less media coverage. Silence is violence. No, Gabby Pedido is not Native American. She was, a very beautiful, thin white girl, which doesn't diminish her death or the importance of covering it, but it does make it clear that Indigenous folks who go missing, especially women, do not get covered. So that is what I'm highlighting right now, is the fact that while Gabby Pedido got all of this media coverage, got her own forums set up, her own subreddits, there are actually 710 Indigenous people, mostly girls, who are missing from the same area where Gabby was found. So getting right into the actual article, the disappearance of Gabby Pedido launched a social media frenzy and nonstop media coverage since she was reported missing, possibly from the state of Wyoming. So this is an older article before she was found. But hundreds of cases of Indigenous people reported missing in the exact same state over the past decade have not been met with the same furor. At least 710 Indigenous people, mostly girls, went missing in Wyoming from 2011 to 2020. This according to a January report published by the state's Missing and Murdered Indigenous People Task Force. The vast majority, 85%, were kids, while 57% were female. The report found 50% of missing Indigenous people are found within 1 week, while 21% remain missing for 30 days or longer. Only 11% of white people remain missing for that long, according to the report. Pedido, a 22-year-old white woman from New York, was reported missing on September 11th. Her family had last spoken on the phone, so we had gone over that. Wind River is the only reservation in the state, home to thousands of Shoshone and Arapaho Indians. But the report found Indigenous people have been reported missing in 22 out of the state's 23 counties, making it a statewide problem. The report also looked at media coverage, finding only 30% of Indigenous homicide victims even made the news, compared to 51% of white victims. When the murders of Indigenous people were covered, the news reports were overly graphic compared to white people. The missing and murdered Indigenous persons movement has received increased attention in recent years. Wyoming Governor Mark Gordon established the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Persons Task Force in 2019 after being pressured by advocates to address the problem. So that's just one kind of angle. And this is something, once again, Jordan and I plan to do a lot more reporting on this, because the number of women and children, Indigenous women and children who go missing is so disturbing, and it's very much underreported. So even those statistics, take with a grain of salt. It's very, very underreported. Next, I want to go back to that the gentleman we talked about before. So this is Daniel Robinson. And so if you can pull the Newsweek article up, Colin, this is a Black gentleman who is missing, and of course did not get anywhere near the coverage that Gabby Pedido got. Gabby Pedido case sparks appeal over unsolved disappearance of Arizona man by Jack Beresford of Newsweek. The discovery of a body believed to be that of 22-year-old Gabby Pedido has prompted fresh appeals for help in locating missing man Daniel Robinson. On Sunday, the FBI confirmed that the human remains consistent with the description of Pedido were discovered in the Spread Creek area of Wyoming. In the wake of the discovery, Shayla Davis took to Twitter to shine a light on Robinson's disappearance. And so we've already read that tweet. She's received a lot of retweets and likes. Daniel was first reported missing on June 23rd. He was last seen earlier that day, leaving a job site near Sun Valley Parkway and Cactus Road in his 2017 blue Jeep Renegade with license plate NLA2CMA. A field geologist who moved to Phoenix for his work, Daniel regularly worked on sites in remote desert locations, often in extreme conditions. He is described as 5'8" with black hair and brown eyes and does not have a right forearm or hand. According to the Buckeye Police Department, Daniel did not tell anyone on site where he was going or why he was leaving. On July 19th, his Jeep was discovered near a ravine close to where he was last seen. The vehicle had sustained significant damage. The airbags had been deployed, and initial evidence indicated the driver had been wearing a seatbelt. Several of Daniel's personal effects, including clothes, a cell phone, wallet, and keys, were also found in the vehicle. Later that month, on July 31st, a human skull was found in an area south of where the Jeep was found. However, subsequent tests determined that it was not Daniel's. Investigators have ruled out the possibility of foul play due to the damage sustained by Daniel's car. That doesn't seem like a good reason to me. His father, David Robinson II, has traveled from his home in South Carolina to continue the search for answers and has set up a GoFundMe page to pay for a private investigator, along with flyers, continued searches, and other expenses. Daniel has an innate passion for adventure and is known to travel in inopportune moments. A statement on the GoFundMe page reads, "However, he always communicates with friends and family about his travel plans." More than $34,000 has been raised so far, with David pledging to stay on indefinitely until we have answers and bring Daniel home safely. The fundraiser has been set up because the current investigation by law enforcement has not been progressing. According to WIS, private investigator Jeff McGrath has been hired to look into the disappearance and has uncovered several potentially key details. Data from the Jeep's black box reportedly showed the vehicle was driven 11 miles after the initial crash and that there were, in fact, multiple crashes. The data also showed the car was cranked more than 40 times after the initial crash, indicated that someone may have been potentially trying to repeatedly to start the engine again. The private investigator also discovered one of Daniel's socks near the original work site, which is located 3 miles from where the car was found. In addition to the GoFundMe page, David has also created an online petition calling for the police department to look more closely into his son's disappearance. David told WIS, the problem is they think he wrecked his Jeep, undressed at the cache site, joined a monastery to become a monk, and that's the theory they stand on no matter what. The petition has amassed more than 5,700 signatures at the time of writing. On Thursday, Buckeye Police Department issued an update on the case, explaining that investigators have worked with outside agencies to search more than 70 square miles in an effort to locate Daniel and utilize UTVs, cadaver dogs, and air support, including a drone and helicopter, to no avail. So that is that. And there's a reason why his father is trying to raise money right now and is trying to urge people to put the pressure on to continue this search. So I encourage people to look up his case and put as much oomph behind it as everyone did for Gabby Pedido. And we all have to know that there are so many missing people. And it's simply a fact that if that person is Native or brown or Black, then the search is not going to be as thorough as it was for Gabby. And may Gabby rest in peace. It's absolutely disgusting and absolutely horrible. I don't even know what to say. I've been streaming for a long time, but I can't miss this next story. So I'm going to continue on and cover it. So this is hard. This is really hard. We all know that Joe Biden is not Bernie. We know that he's not progressive. We know that he's not Trump. Well, a lot of people, a lot of liberals, a lot of blue Dems would have you believe that Biden is, a hero and Trump is a monster. Well, let's be clear. Trump is a monster. So is Biden. Nowhere near as much of a monster, but he's still a monster. And you know how we know he's a monster? Well, maybe you wouldn't know if it weren't for Status Coup, because it's really not being covered like it would be under Trump. But Colin, if you can bring up the Black House News tweet series. This is what's happening at the border of Haitians who are trying to get into the United States. If you can open up those photos and show folks. Just so that's Border Patrol, literally. Oh God, is this 400 years ago? What's happening? Like this is America under Biden. What? This is insane. Now, Colin, if you can pull up the Black House News video that they posted of this. This is just devastating. They're babies. We can't hear it, Colin. I don't know if we're supposed to, or if there's sound. I think Colin's looking at that, but it's, we caused this. We're the reason. We're the reason for this. We're the reason that people from Haiti are desperate to get here.
We're having a hard time. Our family sends us money, but we can't eat. We have children, but don't have diapers. Look, now I have to cross to the Mexican side with wet money to be able to buy things for the child, and we have nothing. We're unable to eat. I need help with everything that's happening to us over there because there are a lot of children, and they're only removing the single parents, and the children are left alone. Just imagine.
God, I just, ugh. And liberals don't care. Bidenites, Hillary stands don't care because this is not happening under Trump. Or maybe they would care if they saw it, but the media doesn't care to show it if it's not Trump doing this. Like, can you imagine the hashtags and the outrage from the resistance Twitter accounts if this footage were gotten under Trump? I mean, God, man. So let's go through the Washington Post piece, Colin. The hypocrisy is simply astounding. Simply astounding. Washington Post by Felicia Sonmez. White House Homeland Security Chair denounced horrific mistreatment of Haitian migrants by Border Patrol officers. The White House, and hold on one second. My copy has a pop-up of it. The White House and the chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee on Monday voiced concern over photos and reports appearing to show, it does show U.S. Border Patrol officers on horseback mistreating Haitian immigrants near the Rio Grande, calling the images horrific. Their statements came one day after the Biden administration began deporting people from the makeshift camp where nearly 14,000 migrants have gathered beneath a South Texas bridge. One photo by photojournalist Paul Ratney shows a Border Patrol officer on horseback grabbing the shirt of a Haitian migrant holding bags of food and trying to enter an encampment near the river. Other footage shows mounted Border Patrol officers chasing migrants away. One of the officers can be seen swinging at one of the migrants with what appears to be a strap connected to the horse's bridle. This is what your country's expletive because you use your women for this. Another of the officers can be heard saying to the migrants, according to footage published by Al Jazeera English. Representative Benny G. Thompson, chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee, denounced the officers' behavior in a statement Monday. Video and photos coming out of Del Rio showing U.S. Border Patrol's mistreatment of Haitian migrants along the border are horrific and disturbing, Thompson said. This mistreatment runs counter to our American values and cannot be tolerated. Does it run counter to our American values, or is this exactly what our American values are? He called on Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas to take immediate action to hold those responsible accountable and ensure that all migrants are treated in accordance with the law and basic decency, as this administration has promised to do since day one. It rises from the top, guys. It rises from the top. During a press availability in Del Rio, Texas, Monday, Mayorkas was asked whether the images showed inhumane treatments by the Border Patrol officers. Mayorkas responded that reporters are assuming facts that have not yet been determined. It's pretty easy to determine facts when you have footage and photographs. He added that Border Patrol officers sometimes use long reins to ensure control of the horse. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that Black Haitian men and women and children are horses. This is absurd. and that we are going to investigate the facts to ensure that the situation is as we understand it to be. BS. Border Patrol Chief Raul Ortiz said he believed it was likely the officers were trying to control the horses so that no migrants would get injured as they were trekking across the river, and that any actions they took were in the name of security. I mean, are you kidding me? This is absurd. People cannot stand for this. And as we witnessed in some of the videos and pictures, the migrants were going back and forth, Ortiz said. We do not know who are the smugglers and who are the migrants. So it is important that these Border Patrol agents maintain a level of security for the migrants and for themselves. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki fielded several questions about the images during Monday's news briefing. Psaki described the footage she has seen as horrific, but said she is seeking more context and information on the events that took place. I have seen some of the footage, Psaki told reporters. I don't have the full context. Oh my God. I can't imagine. Well, let's take a look at our actions in Haiti for some more context. How about that, Jen Psaki? Let's circle back to that. I can't imagine what context would make that appropriate, but I don't have additional details. I don't think anyone seeing that footage would think it's acceptable or appropriate. Asked whether she believes action should be taken against the officers involved, Psaki responded, of course, they should never be able to do it again. My God. Oh my God. I don't know what the circumstances would be. It is obviously horrific, the footage. I don't have any more information on it. Deteriorating social and economic conditions in recent years in Haiti worsened recently. I don't know why they put that word in there. By the pandemic, have become too hostile to bear for some migrants. Yeah, Felicia Sanmez, why don't you say why conditions have worsened in Haiti in recent years? Prompting them to join a persistent exodus to the northern half of the Americas. While it's not clear how or why thousands of specifically French, Creole, and Spanish-speaking Haitians converged simultaneously at one isolated outpost on the U.S.-Mexico border, what is clear is that many of their migration stories began long ago. Theirs is an unending tale of displacement, discrimination, and deportation that many had hoped would end in Del Rio, Texas, and lead to a permanent home. Oh my. I cannot even begin to explain how furious I am about the framing of that Washington Post article. First of all, absurd. And the fact that the official statements are what they are, and that reporters are just like, okay, cool. Let's just report this like it is. Yeah, obviously as journalists, we have to say what the comments were, but we also have to say what reality is. Haiti didn't magically start having problems on its own. It's not magic. It's us. It's us. And now here we are whipping Haitians, women, Black women and children and men for trying to live. That's it. For trying to live. We're disgusting. Biden's disgusting. He needs to take responsibility for this. He wanted to be president. Well, here you are. You're president, Biden. What are you going to do now? Biden is it's insane to me. The so-called progressives who are saying that Biden is worse than Trump. That's just literally crazy and nonsensical. That doesn't mean that Biden is good. Clearly he's not. Look at this. Look at what's happening under his watch. He needs to be held accountable. And I hope Resistance Twitter wakes up and starts doing it and starts helping to hold him accountable. I cannot. This country is such a disaster. Our COVID response is a disaster. Our treatment of migrants is a disaster. Our policing is a disaster. It's easy to see why people are getting so discouraged and why there are such mental health issues lately. Increasingly. It's really devastating and hard. Colin, before I end, if you can pull up the store once again to show people our new sustainable, more ethical merch shop that we've moved to proudly, proudly, proudly. So if you want Status Coup merch, we are no longer going to be doing Teespring. We've moved to the sustainable company called Tmill. So statuscoup.tmill.com, and we will have more and more up. I'm going to order myself the tie-dye one. It's incredible. I love tie-dye so much. It's so fun. It makes me happy. So to have a Status Coup tie-dye shirt, right up my alley. And we'll be ordering more, or putting up more and more over time. Colin's been working on it, doing a great job. Yeah, statuscoup.com and click merch and you'll find it. Get the coup. Be the first one on the block with coup gear. Also, don't forget it is Jordan's birthday. Oh, look at that. That's so exciting. I love that. I love it. So remember that it's Jordan's 35th birthday. So don't let the day end without giving a shout out to Jordan for his birthday. Go to his Twitter at Jordan Sheridan, or email at info@statuscoup.com, or whatever. So he's trying to take a break today for his birthday and relax a bit, which is hard for him to do. So give a huge, huge shout out to Jordan. I've enjoyed spending the evening with all of you. Thank you so, so much for watching. And we will keep reporting on the news and what's important. Hopefully we will have Mike Prysner on Wednesday. Jordan should be around too. So I'm really hopeful that happens. Mike is great, and I'll let you know. Keep an eye on my Twitter. I'll be and Mike's Twitter. I'll be keeping an eagle eye on his actions tonight with good old GW. All right, guys. Peace out. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.